Hi everyone, how are you doing? I'm going to show you how to review a vignette, identify fluctuations in mood, and to be able to chart them out on the graph that was depicted and introduced in weeks 4 and 5, showing varying levels of depressive episodes and varying levels of mood-related episodes, including hypomania and mania. First, I'm going to go over the clinical vignette with you, and then I'm going to show you my makeshift graph, and we'll be able to apply both the mood-related symptoms into a cohesive fluctuation on the graph. This can be used for not only just your visual interpretation of depressive episodes, manic, hypomanic, i.e. bipolar 1, bipolar 2, or schizophrenia spectrum symptoms. What this does not have is the uh, hallucinations and hallucinations and delusions line. But anyways, we can use this as for visual comprehensively for weeks, essentially 4 through 7. 4 through 6, just kidding, 4 through 6. Anyways, I'm going to show you how to be able to do this and pulling up the vignette first. I'm going to try to like succinctly outline this as we go through. I've just found it's like kind of starting and stopping, but I'm going to read this. Okay. Adrienne is a middle-aged woman presenting for treatment following a series of significant mood episodes. Okay, so right there we have information that, oh, this is what I'm going to do. That she has mood-related episodes, so we're going to maybe anticipate highs and lows. In August of last year, as her son prepared to leave for college, Adrienne experienced several nights of excessive worry and poor sleep. However, on the day of his departure, she described a sudden and dramatic shift in mood, reporting that she felt exceptionally confident, energized, and optimistic. She described feeling like the best mom in the world and believed that her son was destined for extraordinary success. During the college move-in process, she was notably social, highly productive, volunteered frequently, and appeared more animated than usual. According to her husband, she was more chipper and lively than her baseline, let's say, and I just wrote this, and was only sleeping for, let's just say, approximately. Okay, why not? And then I'm going to fix one more thing. Just a glimpse into my thought process. Okay. During the college move-in process, she was notably social, highly productive, and volunteered frequently, appearing more animated than usual. According to her husband, she was more chipper and lively than her baseline and was only sleeping for approximately 4 hours per night. This elevated mood lasted approximately 5 days before resolving spontaneously. So right here, I want you to think about wait, I can't do it this way, can I? Yeah. What stands out to you? So this is August. Now, we hear sleep issues, but excessive worry and poor sleep, does that fit into a mood-related category? No, it does not. What we would see is a decreased need for sleep just because of the energy, but not because she is having a hard time settling down because she's worried about what's going to happen to her son. However, however, on the day of his departure, something shifts. She describes a sudden and dramatic shift in mood, exceptionally confident, energized, optimistic, feeling like the best mom in the world, i.e., increased elevated mood, grandiosity, which is connected to perceiving that her son was destined for extraordinary success. She's more talkative than usual, an increase in goal-directed activity, and there's just a lot of energy. Her husband also identifies that she's more chipper and lively than her baseline. So there's a sudden and unequivocal shift from somebody's typical baseline, and that she's only sleeping for about 4 hours per night, so a decreased need for sleep. This elevated mood lasted approximately 5 days before resolving spontaneously. So, what mood-related episode is that? Hold on to that one. Now, in mid-October, after learning that her son had sustained a football injury that jeopardized his athletic aspirations, Adrian experienced a severe depressive episode lasting several weeks, okay? So this tells us what it is. But let's just see and make sure that we have justification to confirm that it is a severe depressive episode. During this time, she withdrew from family interactions, unable to work, struggled to get out of bed, neglected her personal hygiene, had a diminished appetite, and experienced pervasive feelings of worthlessness and a failure as a mother. Okay, now what we don't see here is meeting the 5 of 9 criteria for a major depressive episode. But this is where we go back to, for the sake of this, we can infer that she was in a depressive state, okay? And the fact that this, let's see, with psychiatric and therapeutic interventions, her symptoms gradually improved by mid-November. So it's like a month where she's really struggling, can't work, not getting out of bed. So there's sleeping, difficulty with her motivation, which could be anhedonia, fatigue, reduced energy level, diminished appetite, feelings of worthlessness. I would say that that really meets criteria for a severe depressive episode. Now, in January, following an increase in her prescribed Zoloft, which I'm going to speak to how that probably came to be, even though this is a made-up situation, Adrienne experienced another period of elevated mood. Her husband discovered her washing her car in her driveway at 2 a.m. after she reported a sudden surge of energy and numerous plans for home projects. Over the next several days, she demonstrated increased talkativeness, frequent communication with her son, so she's probably calling her son a lot, heightened goal-directed activity, and expansive planning regarding his future. Wow, she is like a true, what is it, momager? Yeah. Due to concerns about her mood elevation, she was admitted for a brief inpatient hospitalization where she was given a mood stabilizer. Her symptoms stabilized within 1 week. Let's just say that well, yeah, 1 week is enough for us to know this, but what we also know is that the hospitalization, even if her symptoms stabilized at 5 or 6 days, the hospitalization is enough to tell us a lot of information about the severity of this particular presentation and the effect that it had on her functioning, right? So that's January. Now, I think we've got one more episode coming. In May, Adrienne experienced another depressive episode after her son announced plans to transfer from his East Coast college. Wow, she is very bound to this particular child. For just over 2 weeks, she reported low mood, guilt, fatigue, social withdrawal, and reduced motivation. Although distressing, this episode was less severe than her prior depression and improved following medication adjustments. So what do we think about this? We see 2 weeks, but does this seem like as severe as it was before? No. Now, depressive episodes don't have to be severe in the exact same ways, and we know that she is on a different medication, so hopefully that's helpful. But to me, what this says is that, I mean, just guilt versus feelings of worthlessness and failure as a mother, that's different. Low mood versus like sadness, very, very sad presentation, which I realized I didn't put on here, but let's just say she cried. Okay, I'm adding this. She cried easily. Oh my goodness, she's very sad and depressed. What we don't have is information about what low mood means, but let's just say that she's not as sad. She's not as devastated. To me, this is like, hey, this still meets criteria, but it's probably less severe, which means that it's mild. Okay, what happened with Adrian? Let's find out the end part of this. Adrian presents to treatment, finally recognizing a long-standing pattern of emotional over-identification with her son. Yes, Adrian, I would say that you are very enmeshed with your adult child's life. It acknowledges that her mood fluctuations appear strongly connected to changes in his life. That is very good awareness. She reports a desire to develop healthier boundaries, increase tolerance for uncertainty, and adapt to her evolving role as a parent while supporting her son's autonomy. Wow, that's actually very good insight. I would say that this is a perfect aim treatment, aim for treatment, right? Where we can identify, oh goodness, um, that is like fantastic information that she's giving us that we would want to put right into that I can start, because it's like Adrian will will develop healthier boundaries, increase tolerance for uncertainty, and adapt to her evolving role as a parent while supporting her son's growing autonomy. Wow, that is a wonderful overarching perspective of what we're going to do to help her. Okay, so going back to this. So, did you identify that she was in a hypomanic episode? Yes. Why do we identify this? Well, we notice that there's an unequivocal change in her functioning that's noticeable to others. We do see that she meets criteria for sleep, for increased elevated mood, grandiosity, talkativeness, or pressure to keep talking, and much more task-oriented and goal-directed, right? So we see an increase in goal-directed behavior and activity. We also see that this only lasts for 5 days, it does not meet criteria for 1 week or more, nor do we see that she requires any sort of hospitalization. We would say that this would be a hypomanic episode. If you guessed hypomanic episode, fantastic. You did wonderfully. That is our starting point on this grid. Okay. And if you are listening, I am typing in hypomanic episode on the document. Now, what we also see is in mid-October, she again has a severe depressive episode lasting several weeks. That goes from mid-October to about mid-November. So we're going to look to plot that. And then in January, following an increase in her prescribed Zoloft, then she goes into a mood-related episode. She flips. Now, you might be wondering, maybe you're wondering, hey, if we already saw that she was in a mood episode, why would she be prescribed an SSRI? Well, they probably did not actually catch that this was a mood-related episode because her functioning was not impaired. She didn't, again, need to be hospitalized. She was not demonstrating any sort of like increased behaviors where there were risky behaviors that had painful consequences. I mean, she really kind of flew under the radar. So after this severe depressive episode, it would make sense that she be prescribed psychiatric or medication. Um, and let's just say that they missed it. Let's just say that the physician asked, "Hey, have you ever had a manic episode?" And she's like, "No, I've never had any periods of time where I, turned into a different person, where I just couldn't sleep, even though maybe this was overlooked." I don't know. I'm getting too into the weeds of this hypothetical situation, but let's just pretend that that was missed. She's given this SSRI, but then it shifts her into a manic episode, right? Oh, wait, I'm going to put severe depression, manic episode, put her on a mood stabilizer. And then for May, for 2 weeks, she meets criteria for a mild depressive episode. Not as bad, still notable. Low motivation, guilt, fatigue, social withdrawal, a low mood. Reduce motivation. Although distressing, this was less severe, right? So it still tells us that it is a depressive episode. It's just not the same. Okay, so we have 4 specific mood episodes within a 12 period, oh my goodness, a 12-month period of time. I'm recording this on a Friday afternoon, my apologies. A 12-month period of time. So we want that to show up in terms of her mood. So this is what you're going to chart. Okay, so how we would plot this out, here's a graph. Now, I've had this started in July. It's a 12-month graph. What we see is that she's doing okay for July, right? And it's August when her son's going to start going to school that we note a manic or pardon me, hypomanic episode. Now, this is not going to be drawn to scale because we have such tight quarters as far as, no, I didn't want to do that. We have such tight quarters as far as mood, so just bear with me. But so here's Adrienne in her hypomanic episode. She stabilizes. Now, son gets injured during football season, during mid-October. That is just way too much for her precious mom heart to bear. Really hard time during this particular month. She gets the treatment that she needs, and boom, she's doing a lot better. But for whatever reason, oh, medication. She oof goes into a manic episode. Again, not drawn to scale. I'm not a good drawer at all, hence why this looks like the side of somebody's finger, right? Like the tip of somebody's finger. So she goes up to a manic episode for this particular week. Appropriate mood stabilizer is able to come back down to baseline. So she's doing well, doing well, doing well. And then it's May where her son is like, Mom, I don't want you to tell me what to do anymore. I'm not going to go to school on the East Coast. Leave me alone. Let me make my own decisions. That's where she has a hard time with this, struggles, but then comes back up after intervention. And now she's here for support. So that's what this can actually look like. We are essentially taking the clinical information and identifying when it starts. This does not have to be totally precise, but what we really want to see, what I want to see, is that you're identifying when these appropriate symptoms or when these clinical symptoms moved away from baseline and when they started going into the realm of either hypomania, mania, mild depression, or severe depression. Okay? I think on several of my lectures, they more or less look like this, but there's just a live demonstration of what this can look like given what happens in August, what happens in October, January, and May. All right. Oh, I forgot to ask. Hopefully you're still here. um, we see 4 what's the diagnosis here, right? We see 4 mood-related episodes over the course of a 12-month period of time. We have hypomania, severe depression, but mania, and we have another episode of depression. So 4 distinct mood-related episodes within a 12-month period of time. If you said bipolar 1 with rapid cycling specifier, ding, 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 good job. You got it. That's the answer. Fantastic.